Okay, here we are at the start of the Jesse Kriegel pathway. Runs under this entry ramp onto the 198 for a bit. It's an interesting ride at this point. On the right are some student housing buildings that were built in the last, I want to say 5 years, maybe 6 years. They're pretty recent. Us heading back under the highway. Some twists and turns, but they make it work. So this is called the Jesse Kriegel pathway, and the Jesse Kriegel path, and I got curious recently as to who Jesse Kriegel is. So I looked him up, and it turns out he was like a trombonist, I think, with the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra. And he was originally from Portland, Oregon, where he used to bike a lot. A lot of people bike there. And he thought, gee, wouldn't it be nice if there were a bike path in Buffalo? And it took about, he had this idea in the 80s, and it took about 20 years to make this bike path a reality. Because there was a whole ongoing nightmare of funding and getting easements, getting property owners along the way to agree to easements, probably including the owners of the shopping center that we're passing by right now. But it really, it's just a really great multi-use path. It's not just bikes who use it. It's all sorts of people. There's pedestrians. Yeah, people just out on a stroll. It's great. Even though there's certain points like this where you have to stop and cross an exit ramp from the 198 onto Grant Street. That's not so great. This is the Polish Cadets Hall. Right there. And that's a Catholic church in the background, although I can't remember which church it is. That is more of the church and its buildings. Got a little playground coming up on the left. And past that is a basketball court. Well, also this radio tower. But up ahead is a basketball court. Sometimes you see people playing there. I'll take a left here to go past those courts on the right, and way in the distance, Wegmans. Yeah. Tops might have been closer to the start, but I always bike right by to go to Wegmans. It's just so nice in there. And very affordable. So this morning, there just happened to be a bunch of firefighters shopping at Wegmans. They brought ladder trucks because that's what they've got for vehicles to go shopping for groceries at Wegmans. So there's some bike parking, but that was behind the fire trucks, so I just kept going to this other place where you can park your bike, thoughtfully provided by Wegmans, these little bike racks. So a quick transition. I didn't film inside Wegmans. That's weird. Coming up, about to get onto the street, but then I stop because out of frame, there's a vehicle. And I wave them on, and then they wave me on. Then I wave them on, and they very emphatically wave me through, so I went ahead and took it. I don't want to play wave tag all day long. So off we go. Exiting Wegmans. And back out the way we came. But I don't want to just backtrack exactly the same way that we came. Instead, we'll see more of the Jesse Kriegel pathway. This will get off the Wegmans campus. And off we go. You can't really see it from the path here, but over to the right, behind the bushes, there's actually a little more path that goes right down next to Skajackwada Creek. I never go there because you'd have to go down a hill and then back up a hill, and that is not great. Here's one of the entrances to one of those. But we've got this path that's much flatter. People just, for through traffic, people just going, passing through. Over on the left, that's McKinley High School. You got a greenhouse, as you can see. Oh, it was a glorious day today. I thought, what better day than today to make a video? Okay, now we're entering through into some twisty turning parts. Hey, it's fellow biker. So, you hear me ring my bell, that's why. I like to warn people before I enter a turn in case there's somebody coming from the other direction. So they don't freak out, so they know that I'm coming. You know, safety first. Trying to avoid an unexpected collision. And now we're in the Japanese gardens behind the Buffalo History Museum. Formerly known as the New York Historical Society, with a hyphen between New and York, because that's how historical a society it was. It's housed in one of only a couple of buildings that were built to be permanent for the Pan American Exposition of 1901 or 1900. Anyway, and now we emerge from the gardens. You can see the 198 there. We're climbing up this hill. I always have to downshift for that hill. And coming up soon, one of the highlights of this trip, the Twirly Bridge. There it is. And here we go. Like an endless ramp. Going round and round. And now we're up at the top, and that's the 198 below us. This is the whole point of the bridge, is to avoid an at-grade crossing for bicyclists and pedestrians. And back down we go. A lot of these pedestrian bridges are just a ramp, and then you make a 180-degree turn, and then more ramp, and repeat. But the Twirly Bridge, oh, that's so much nicer. So much easier. Especially if you're on two wheels. And breezing past these people politely waiting so they don't get smushed. Just look at that sky. And we're in Delaware Park. It's Delaware Park on the left. Up ahead, that's the AKG Museum. Formerly the Albright Knox Gallery. But they just got a very large and generous donation to build an additional wing. And instead of making it 3 names, they decided to make the official name the Buffalo AKG Museum. Up on the left, we're not going to turn, but if we did turn here, that would be where the casino is at Delaware Park and the Rose Garden. But here instead, I'm going to get off the sidewalk and onto the street again so we can connect up to Lincoln Parkway. Here we go. It's kind of like 3 parkways in one, actually. This is the one, the westernmost one, and then there's one in the east, and there's an even bigger one in the center. Don't know why these ones on the side have 2-way traffic. It's not quite wide enough for that. It'd be nice if they just made it a 1-way, and then maybe a bike lane and a parking lane. Maybe someday. But these trees are gorgeous. One of the highlights of Buffalo. Okay, up ahead we can now see Soldier's Place, Soldier's Circle, excuse me, which is where 3 of the parkways in Buffalo's parkway system all meet, and just taking a right onto Bidwell Parkway, which will cross Elmwood and take us to another circle, as you'll see. And here we actually do have marked bike lanes, just painted bike lanes, no protection. But what's nice about these bike lanes on Bidwell Parkway, that stretch of Bidwell Parkway anyway, is that they're like 4 feet wide. They're just noticeably wider than most of the bike lanes, the painted bike lanes that have been laid down in the city in general, and that's really nice. Shiba Inu alert.
Here we go.
And here it is, Colonial Circle. Take a quick turn around the circle. And the recorded portion of this trip right here, in front of the statue of Daniel Bidwell. Thanks for joining me.